It's time to start our open mic where everybody gets a 5-minute slot. At the 1 minute remaining, I do that. Okay? Oh, and we are starting with Ryan Grosz.
Ryan! Thank you, Thom! There's a lot of interesting stuff going on in the first half of this show because a lot of stuff I agreed with and I identified with. The nines. I'm coming up on 40.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, and tattoos and all kinds of stuff. Gonna sit. So, 2018. I wrote this morning, trying not to wake up Jade, who was asleep on my couch. With my cat swatting him in the face. Car accidents, falls, general drunkenness. I was 10 years old when a doctor told me, you'll be walking with a cane by the time you're 40. Well, that year has come, 2018. And what used to be a bop, like any good New York kid should have, has turned into a limp. Hell, even my dentist noted that I was limping last week. Up here, not down here. Do your job. Car accidents, falls, general drunkenness, they take their toll. And then again, so did 2017. I've watched our country roll over and expose its hideous underbelly for a good rub. Rampant, repugnant cruelty, racism, xenophobia, transphobia, homophobia, all dusted in spray tan and filthy language. Thumb type played at night in what was once 140 characters, which now has been doubled down upon to 280. And I feel myself sinking, doubling down, in a coffin slowly lowered into quicksand and filth. The serpent and the rainbow. I'm not dead yet. Don't let them bury me. I repeat as a mantra daily as I listen to BBC and realize the world hates us. And my bones creak like attic doors that you lower from the ceiling when I stand up to turn off the radio and throw on a punk rock record from my youth when I was angry but still thought I could make a change. I have become Old Man Logan. I've lost my healing factor. And liquor and cigars are a sensuous salve. My mentors were dying last year. Bowie, Prince, Fife Dog, Sam Shepard, Toby Hooper, Tommy from Car Talk. The Wolverine will only snarl for so much longer. Yet I still feel like I'm living in a comic book and haven't yet reached the last page. But I have hope the next issue will bring hope and that I'm drawn well. Because despite all the scars and 8 days without a shower, I'm a vain motherfucker. If you're interested, I have an audiobook, I have other books. Hit me up, I'll give you a business card.
All right. Our next open micer is Stephanie Johnson.
All right, all right. Come on. Oh, okay.
I don't want to trip. Sure. As we begin 2018, and it's just great to be here. This year is kind of somewhat starting off as when I actually met our theater's leader. I tried out today for the Vagina Monologues. It's been a busy day for me. I started my morning at 7:30 this morning. I had an early church meeting. This year, 2018, I've been nominated and accepted as being an elder in my church. And so that's something new for me. It's reaching out, something I've never done before. So, and then after that, this morning, I also gave a presentation to my Bible school church. And as I announced at the end of last year, for those that were here, I'm going to go ahead and announce it again for this year, because it's going to be something shocking, something very new. I'm in the process of changing my gender and my name. Sometime in the next couple of months, my name will be officially changed to Stephanie Elise Freno. And my gender will be officially changed as well. That's shocking, and it's new, and I'm stepping outside of myself. But here's something, and I'm also a writer, and I just finished something, and this is something that I would like to read for you. And it's called, I Am Glad I'm a Woman. I'm glad I'm a woman. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I don't live off of Budweiser, beer nuts, and Spam. I don't brag to my buddies about my erections. I won't drive to hell before I ask for directions. I don't get wasted at parties and act like a clown. And I know how to put the damn toilet seat down. I won't grab your hooters. I won't pinch your butt. That belt buckle is not hidden beneath my beer gut. And I don't go around readjusting my crotch or yell like Tarzan when my headboard gets a notch. I don't belch in public. I don't scratch my behind. I'm a woman, you see. I'm just not that kind. I'm glad I'm a woman. I'm so glad I could sing. I don't have body hair like shag carpeting. It doesn't grow from my ears or cover my back. And when I lean over, I see 3 inches of crack. And what's on my head doesn't leave with my comb. I'll never buy a toupee or cover my dome. Or have a few hairs pulled from over my side. I'm a woman, you know. I've got far too much pride. And honestly, I think it's a privilege for me to have these 2 boobs and squat when I pee. I don't have to play golf and shoot basketball. I don't swagger and spit like a Neanderthal. I won't tell you my wife just doesn't understand. Stick my hand in my pocket and hide that gold band. I'll tell you a story that makes you sigh and weep. Then screw you, roll over and fall sound asleep. Yes, I'm a woman. I'm a woman, you see. You can forget all about that old penis envy. I don't go for male bonding. I don't cruise for chicks or join the haircut for men or think with my dick. I'm a woman by chance, and I'm thankful it's true. I'm so glad I'm a woman and not a man like you.
You're going to do well as a woman. I would start it off. All right, Brennan.
All right, what I'm going to read is also from what I read earlier, but this is part of more of like the normal narrative, so I was going to maybe give you guys a taste of what it's like when it's less on the, I guess, secondary hyperlink. This is just like almost like the normal part of the book, I guess. If that even makes sense. Oh, and this is, there's different sections of characters, but this is with the Dresden family, and this is only half of the family. There's one in one RV, one is in the other, and this is one waking up in one. Michael Dresden stirred awake on the restroom's plastic latrine. He had the dark, drooping eyes of an alcoholic and the manicured yet masculine beard of someone deeply enthusiastic about their appearance. Michael was a narcissist and was well aware of this fact. He even embraced this knowledge. It was helpful to his work as an ad executive, and no one in his family doubted this. Not even Gloria, though she resented him so totally and completely that he was still shocked every morning when he noticed her in the bed beside him, or in this case, when he heard her heaving sighs from the back of the RV. Although he was moving slowly, his mind was already filled with all he had to get done today. Their daughter, the family's middle sibling, Juno, was curled up against her body pillow on the RV's top bunk, flipping through pictures on her Canon E72, which she'd taken with her throughout the festival's previous 3 days of activity. Juno was obsessed with images, not only capturing them, but also studying them after they'd been captured. Although they were a frozen record of time, images were malleable to Juno. Once her shutter had clicked and forever solidified a memory of reality, she found herself returning to them with an intensity that was even greater than how she felt about capturing them to begin with. She devoured images. She breathed them in, making them a part of her being as she scrolled through their various subjects and angles. And there was a number of images she had already captured throughout the festival with which she had become obsessed. One portrayed a man with his mouth outstretched in a carnivorous attempt to munch down a chili dog. Flakes of meat were bubbling off the bun and onto the paper plate below, soaked through with grease and saliva. The night before, she had tried to explain to Sylvia, her friend who was scrolling through applications on her smartphone on the bunk below her, that this image held powerful representative meaning. How do you not see that? What, a man eating a hot dog? I don't get it. He's consuming a hot dog. Chili, meat, both convey several stark associations. Consumerism, greed, hunger, unneeded waste, and devastation. And yet the grease, the paper plate, it all has an appeal that draws the audience in. You understand what it's like to cradle that chili dog in your hand. We've all done it, yet here it is in your face, just like this man, reminding you of all we've wasted and consumed, and all we would continue to waste. Where the fuck do you see all that? It just looks like a hot dog to me. And then there was another picture that she scrolled to, sitting on the top bunk, finding even more associations and representative data, hidden in its illuminated pixels. It was a concrete slab of graffitied images. Fuck Kanye. A Samo Basquiat reference with corresponding crown. Various unintelligible tags, and of course the ever-iconic etching of a cock and ball, simplistically covered with tufts of pubic hair. This was an average block of cement which separated the festival, creating a barrier between the vast campsites and the festival itself. Yet to Juno, it was a canvas, a treasured monument of creation. Even a spray-painted cock to Juno was a piece of work so precious it was nearly beyond human comprehension. She whispered to herself from the top bunk as Sylvia rolled her eyes beneath her. The phallus, the dick, there in its pure form, yet it is half of what creates life. Coming out of it is drawn a series of lines meant to represent ejaculation. But what does a line also represent? The arrow of time, the line in creation of life that sexual reproduction also pushes forward. And the original drawers of this have no idea. These artists have made something larger than themselves, yet they have no clue. As Christ said, they know not what they do. It is within that truly sincere naivete that this comes to create meaning. Right, that's it.
All right, next up, Nicole.
Oddly seem to go together in some weird way, I'm not sure. The person's called cells. My cells feel flat, deflated like my lungs as I wheeze for air through the night. Discarded and trampled underfoot, crunching like dried leaves, brittle to the touch, while I run to catch the balls falling in flames around me. Desiccated dreams and empty rain. Hollow, I bend and peel the memory of myself off the floor. I'm floating above, ethereal, distant. It's curious to see the familiar shape of my face, but shaded in with rushed hash marks like hushed tones on my skin. Ashen eyes staring desperately up at me like faded jeans, worn and tired. Then I realize I'm the only one who can blow life back into them. The slow pumping like CPR, who is doing the resuscitation? Who the receiving? Open mouth and helpless? Or maybe this is just breathing. The steady rise and fall, the emptying out that allows space for new dreams to be born. So I begin the tedious patchwork, find the slow leak, and plug the hole with my tongue. Grant myself time to fill back up, shove the weight from my chest, no longer complicit in smothering my own joy. Inhale as my cells inflate to round again, full and buoyant, slowly staining with the warm color of health, and lift lightly back up toward the sky. Footprints. I know my past through the damp footprints it leaves like soft indentations in my present. Fear of turning to salt, I lean ever forwards in spiraling cycles, sinking deeper in time like warm sand. The burial, grief, and giddy rebirth on constant repeat. My eyes lock with the cold shimmer of the death angel winking at me, reflecting myself back to me, glistening off snow. The shadows sift through bare branches, and there's nowhere left to hide. I'm exposed in my own storyline that settles firmly on my own shoulders to alter. And the last one's fire kisses. I was afraid to walk the fire last night. My mind was distracted. Though I'd walked once before in Teotihuacan, Mexico, enough time had passed for my brain to begin to wander and wonder if it had been a strange twist of imagination. But I knew then that that was as much reason to walk as not. For I was resolute to no longer let fear decide my path. So as the coals twinkled and winked, flaunting their heat, I lined up to walk, flesh on flame, but heart strangely calm. This time, I felt some fire kisses, but the cool breath of damp grass soothed my burning skin, and I found myself returning to walk again and again to remind myself to never go back to my small life and let my cells digest this new reality where fire no longer burns, only transforms.
Jade.
This is sort of the summation of a trip I took to the British Virgin Islands. I stopped keeping track of the days. It seemed pointless to try. We'd only be anticipating the end of the trip, which would kind of ruin the whole thing. 2 days ago, I sat on a beach, fashioned from the bones of dead animals. After that, we went to another beach, where we witnessed the remnants of a massive conch shell massacre. Piles of pink shells and the scuffed rocks that were used to smash them open were scattered about everywhere. Later, we stumbled upon an abandoned fish camp on the same island. There were both skeletons everywhere, scattered about, whilst the weather-worn shacks were slumped amongst the mounds of tangled nets, weaving in and out of the surf. Yesterday, we went snorkeling again. This time to see a decaying corpse of a ship that had been mercilessly smashed upon the rocks in 1867. Each fin of the propeller was as long as a full-grown man and weighed several tons. The water was deep and the waves were angry. Visibility was poor and the waves spewed water down my snorkel out of pure spite. I choked. It was terrifying. The current pulled me out into the boating lane, and I knew the sea had turned against me at that point. Staring down into a cobalt abyss as I frantically swam back to the calmer waters of the shallows was terrifying. I could not see the bottom, and visibility was limited to a sphere of about 20 feet. Not a large enough distance to react quickly if a kraken or some other monster from the deep saw me as little more than a light lunch.
Rosemary.
Context. Okay, this is a piece from my novel in progress.
Do you need reading glasses?
No, I think I just pulled my little context.
I was going to say, Thom always has.
Oh, I don't context.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank goodness it's only 14 more days, because I simply cannot do it anymore. Pretend that I enjoy pulling onto our long concrete driveway, waiting for the single-car garage door to pull itself up. Even before I open the floor-length glass door that leads from the garage to the kitchen, I can see our natural white oak floors. Real hardwood, baby, he always bragged while I roll my eyes. As I walk into the kitchen, my hand reaches to the left to find 2 light switches, flipping the wrong one up and illuminating what I always referred to as our luscious lawn. 8,000 square feet that ran perpendicular to 5 of our neighbors' yards, all under a canopy of oversized live oaks. I smile as I remember him mumbling, "Your breasts are luscious, babe, not our lawn, it's just green." And I'd laugh at his dry wit and his gift of taking the most innocent remark and creating a ribald joke from it. We had talked once about spreading the blanket out on the grass so we could make love under the moonlight while being serenaded by the great horned owl that sat on our neighbor's 6-foot fence. "How long do you think it will take him to dial 911?" he had asked. But I reminded him that they hadn't called the police yet, even though he'd been flinging his big wager out every evening to urinate off the patio. I could still see him pointing his thumbs to his chest in defense. "That's how scientists do it." The smile on my face fades as my eyes droop and I think, yes, honey, I remember. I remember too much. I walk across our hardwood floors, over to the stairs to begin to climb up, towards the packing boxes waiting to be filled in the bedrooms. I'm sorry, I say out loud, even though he's been dead for 2 years. And as I grip the wooden banister with each step, I remind myself, I have to do this. I cannot stay. I walk into our home office, returning to stacks of files that I had pulled out of drawers, research notes in his handwriting, scientific names of insects found in unfamiliar jungles. San Rafael, Arima, Brazo Seco. I know Brazo Seco. And like that, I transport myself back in time as I hear the high-pitched call of the black and white-faced Kiskadee, and I'm handing the blue canister to Carl, your naturalist friend, the two of us standing at the edge of the Brazo Seco rainforest in Trinidad. Carl, who already had full tears falling down his dark face, is promising to walk your ashes deep into the jungle, a day's journey one way, to spread them in your favorite collecting spot. With this fresh memory ripped into the present, I am screaming out from my center with big gulps of tears that somehow miss my cheeks and fall directly onto my shirt. I cry out at the unfairness of it all, the unfairness to him, to us. I use precious time to read his selective service papers and his lifeguard evaluation forms from high school. I collapse into chairs whispering, why? Sometimes shaking my head as I say, I'm sorry. I am leaving our home, which feels like leaving him. I'm not, only I am. I'm packing and my husband is dead and I do not understand why things are this way. And screaming out, I don't understand, does not magically help me to comprehend. I cry for leaving, but I cannot stay. I must do this, I must do exactly what I am doing next. The German philosopher Nietzsche said that what makes us heroic is going out to meet our highest suffering and our highest hope. It would be so much easier to remain in this house under the familiar blanket of grief, or throw myself into unrelenting work or predictable social gatherings and drink. But I always knew instinctively that there was a richness to be found if I were willing to embrace and feel and live the traumatic loss fully, the good as well as the grotesque. In grappling with this deep pain, I look to be both healed and motivated by it. In 14 days, the movers will arrive and transfer all of our belongings into storage so that I may do that which I absolutely do not want to do, leave our home and drive around the country for a year, alone. A road trip that I always dreamt about in my youth, but which adult responsibilities never allowed. This is not the sabbatical that we had planned together, and it is not a guarantee that I will find hope again. It is simply the means by which I have chosen to try. Until then, I do what I must to say goodbye.
Ryan.
Okay, I had prepared for my previous reading, but this is, I surprised myself by doing the open mic, so that's the shock part of this. Here goes. Barry the possum woke up in his hole. Waking up in a hole is different from waking up outside or in a house. One is in the earth like a mother's pouch. No sound comes in. There had been a few dense bushes he'd called home at various times and many hollow trees safely above the ground, but the best sleep was in a good deep hole. It's hard not to be at peace when you've slept so well, and Barry considered the fact that he was the best sleeper he knew. Others ran faster, fought more fiercely, made louder noises. Some scarcely slept at all and woke twitching with hunger and fear. He had shared a hole with a rabbit once, never again. Such things were for those who spent their short lives in a frenzy of passion and instinct. It sounds harsh, but Barry could not see the point of such an existence. Perhaps there was a sense of peace that came with having a microscopic attention span. Maybe small pleasures were more complete, even if they were completely lost in the next moment's panic. The key was quality sleep. To sleep late and wake with a mind like the sharpest tooth, this was the soul of wisdom. The encroaching night had begun to soften the earth and release its smells. The tail end of the warm evening breeze had left, pulling the clean upper atmosphere down behind it. It dragged across the forest floor, sweeping the smell of rotting leaves into the hole. Barry began to stir. A little shuffling brought his nose up to the mouth of the hole to the litter of the forest like a periscope. Insects, fungus, deer, garbage. Garbage. In the morning, awful diesel trucks would stop and start the length of the street, lifting the cans and smashing them down on the pavement. It's true, the cans were possum-proof, and Barry would likely torture himself groveling in the sand around the curb. But there had been exceptions. Things fell out when cans were moved, and Barry was not inclined to overthink such strong signals from his nose. He wasn't looking particularly hard when he cleared the bushes. He was lost in the world of scent which had taken him over and assured him he already knew everything he was about to see. His eyes watched the ground, kept shut when he pushed through twigs and rolled around loosely, hanging on every word from his nose, so he was surprised by what he saw. The Gray Geo's garbage can was overturned. Barry went into the Jell-O immediately, his black nose dragging across the wet, sugary mess as his teeth and tongue brought it into his mouth in quick, small convulsions. After a minute of total immersion, he looked up, not to scan the street or even the area around the can, but to see what else could be eaten within a few inches of his head. Chicken nuggets. Some had ketchup smeared on them, some half-eaten. All were cold and funky, having been in the garbage for a few days at room temperature. Perfection. After some time spent with the nuggets, Barry returned to the Jell-O, then some rotten vegetable. His eyes called attention to a pile of rice spilled across an open frozen orange juice container. He was taken aback. He normally thought of his eyes as undisciplined children, ranging wildly while anchored in his head above his nose. But here they had surprised him with a useful and goal-focused contribution, like a stupid child saying something insightful. Then his ears interrupted. Something about dogs, someone yelling. His eyes had nothing to say. Barry could always eat more in a situation like this, but wisdom suggested he begin his departure. It wasn't that he didn't take his ears seriously. Sound was hard evidence, but smell was the thing itself traveling into Barry's head, where it physically touched his brain. It did not stop him from leaving. Of course he was going to leave, but moving counter to what his nose told him was like swimming against a strong current. Chewy's hole digging had always been academic. Another divot torn into the sod at the edge of the fence. For years, he had threatened to kill and maim anyone on the other side, and truthfully, the passion had gone out of it. Now in his middle age, he wasn't really sure if he was even angry anymore. He knew he was not taken seriously as a killer by those closest to him. To the ignorant, his long body and floppy ears suggested low muscle tone, but anyone familiar with dachshund physiology could see this was a killing form, suitable for cave fighting. Behind the efficiency with which he navigated to the underside of a blanket, something he did at every opportunity, was a quite unplayful facility at entering holes and dismantling long-toothed prey in single bloody combat. That he had never specifically done this was immaterial. It was at the core of what he was. Every dog owner thinks that their dog is a lover, incapable of dealing out pain, and Chewy was content to let his lady believe this if it got him treats and cuddles. He felt no contradiction here. He was just a complex dog. He was still a good boy. A very good boy. Yes, he was. I should stop there.
First, I want to thank Rosemary for inviting me. This is my first time here. That's great. I'm going to do something I didn't plan to do, so that's part of the shock, which is to read, actually. I thought it'd be too late for that. But this is going to be part one of a short story that actually has a second part, too. It's a Texas short tale, and the only name that's in it has been changed to protect the guilty, and that would be a pistol-packing grandma. Attacked from behind, silently walloped in the back of the head so hard it knocked my hat 2 full car lengths in front of me. Yet I saw nary even a glimpse of what hit me. It felt like a feather-covered brick. It was the strangest experience. How can something hit you that hard that was invisible? And that somehow felt like it had a soft, down-like covering, but a solid blackjack center? My crazy mind. I just about got knocked out by a mystery source in the sky. what wants to silently kill someone with one blow? And right out in the big, broad public, well, mostly public, and that anyone can walk into our community gardening area, just not drive beyond the gate. It happened right on the entrance road. I was calmly unlocking our 4-lock iron barrier bar in a wooden section of our 53rd community garden in Austin near Williamson Creek. I mean, drivers in passing cars on Westgate could have seen the whole thing had they been looking. And it happened to me alone right in mid-morning in mid-morning sunlight. I wondered, kids are off for the summer and they live in houses all around here. Could it have been a kiddo with a drone? But even drones have a mass, some form of visible structure, and it hit me, it hurt. It was something solid, not like the wind or a ghostly sneak of a rock-throwing person. Thinking again, are drones even silent? I don't think so. But can they be? I guess so. Well, onward with the morning. Opening the barrier bar just widely enough, I drove my Miata and tools on into our orchard and herb area. Bordered by Texas native plants and wallflowers, their relatives maybe have been growing here 100 years, a pretty sight. Suddenly, I was really glad I had come this morning, regardless of the rude welcome. I'd think about all that later, but now to work to harvest. Never thinking twice, I drove on in, but then I remembered I had to get right back out of the car to push the barrier bar closed and relocked up for the city of Austin. Bending over those logs, bam, attacked again. Yikes. This time I was getting scared. I was being watched and stalked. It was that same targeted head whack, that same strange, soft, hard blow, my own same feeling, and there goes that darn hat again, just as far again. I only realized later I was lucky though. No blood was drawn. No blood so far. Aha. This time, I looked at the right place though. I saw just a vanishing piece of something flying up and away like a runaway. It was moving fast, sleek, white or beige, like a streak. What was that? No weaponized creature I know of can move so fast and fly. Now I saw it. That streak landed on the high up metal post-like arm of the extra tall lamppost inside our wooded gate. Well beyond the entrance, but in full view. It perched, then it turned. Then it stared down, looking right down at me from far, far away up. Riveting was that stare. This was getting spooky. Upright, confident, but what kind? It was a bird, but not one I knew. Menacing and much larger than the lovely Central Texas popular birds our gardens and orchard would usually draw. I had literally been singled out by this strange bird, and I didn't know why or even exactly what it was yet. About that time, though, Rosemary drove up. She's my neighbor, and she has a garden plot here as well. She was making all sorts of racket high up on her ancient riding lawnmower. Hey, I'm about to cut the grass in our communal orchard area. Can you open that gate for me? Hi, Rose.
Yeah, one more minute.
Okay. Hi, Rosemary. Sure. Listen, you just stay put, though. Watch out. There's a crazy bird up there. On top of that tallest lamppost, it's an attacker. It scared me half to death just before you got here. Now, Rosemary is afraid of nothing alive, I'm pretty sure. Some things are afraid of her. She's a vintage Texas lady. When not marching on the Capitol these days, she says she's getting her therapy time mowing the heck out of our area here, and then half her neighbor's yard with that sputtering riding lawnmower she was. It's older than God Jr., but she manages to keep it wired together and running, works on it herself. The lady knows engines. So she drove the clanking, growling mower in, then hollered back, "Wait, open the gate back up. Wait, let me out. First, I'll drive home and get my pellet gun. I'll handle that crazy bird for us before I mow." I had to laugh. Here we are, two old ladies, grandma gardeners, both of us, shouting in the woods about something we so far have not actually even identified in terms of species or purpose. Stranger than fiction, this is turning out to be. Listen, Rosemary, I am not going to be a partner in gardening crime for you. Let's leave your pellet gun completely out of this. We don't even know what this bird is yet. Remember, we're in the middle of a nature preserve, not a hunting lease. Besides, Rosemary, that bird may have as much business here as we do. You know, it's a garden preserve. Now we're talking guns. I need to distract her, so I said, I'll call Harvey later. He's our old curmudgeon master naturalist we know, but he knows every species and every creature in these woods. He's a silly dude of an old man, stoking time, refusing to text, getting deaf, hates to answer the phone. So, you know, I may not reach him this morning to ask him what this rascal is and what we do about it, but I'll update you as soon as he does. Continuing, I tell her, listen, we know Harvey will be on the bird's side, but we have to do something. We can't just mow and garden and leave. People walk their babies and dogs, little dogs in here, all the time. That bird's dangerous. Even kids get their training wheel chops down here in our circle. We have to get them removed from our circle space. About that time, the bird swooped at us again.
It's time.
That's why it's part one.
Return and tell us part two.
The good news is you have vocabulary. You have from A to Z, you have every word in the English and other languages pirated from. And even if our temporary president has not, you are gifted at this. So here's the next presidential extension of vocabulary. Of all the words that these are from the 9th century to the 13th century. Of all the words that we have heard uttered by our temporary president, who spends more time fudgling than working, who tends to grope while philographized, who is aware of Grumbletonians, yet remains a convinced snollygoster, twaddling on Twitter, as ultra-Cybernarians attracted to Calivagarians, whose physical health is probably-mobbly, and is predisposed to tragic things. Let us not perenniate in this catastrophe, otherwise we will unkathere. While the Alakuthians on weapons, we can no longer lay slug abed. Our groupling requires action. So, we withdraw within the covers of a book and Netflix. Watch images flickering, dream deep beneath blankets. 11 dead of flu in Travis County, all of them over 50. Contemplation, meditation, friends blame junipers for cedar fever. They were here first. Neti pots or Tamil flu, hot soups or hotter baths, chills outside must not enter us like our stray cat through the door. We need warmth in January 2018. So we withdraw within to sing a warmer weather in spring.
Thank you so much for everybody for coming out. Hope to see you next month, February 11th, which is our unofficial Valentine's Day. I always hated Valentine's Day. I'm bad at relationships, so it's like, I guess I'll love myself. That's what I've been doing for 47 years. Yeah. But the theme is Talk Dirty to Me. So that's something we can all relate to, I hope, because it's not, don't stay away because you think, oh, it's Valentine's Day. No, it's the way I celebrate it, which is Talk Dirty to Me for this one. And thank you, and remember on Tuesday, for the 3rd time since I've been living here, it's gonna snow. Ain't that something? Okay, so drive safely until I see you again. Bye-bye.